we have got a big decision that the Indianapolis Colts have to make at the quarterback position. One of many teams out there that is unclear in the wake of Phillip Rivers deciding to resign. Jacoby Brissett is scheduled to be a free agent. They don't have any big money that is actually tied up in any way. The Colts don't now at the quarterback position. But while everybody out there, myself included, has been saying, hey, there's got to be interest from the Colts at Matthew Stafford. In fact, if you look at the odds markets, Matthew Stafford is favored to be the quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts. That's where people think he'll end up. And I'll be honest with you, I'd kind of been focused on the idea of Matthew Stafford to the Colts because there's not a lot of difference between Matthew Stafford and Phillip Rivers in terms of the numbers that they put up last year, except obviously the Colts have a lot better offensive line in theory and could protect him better than the Lions could. But I had sort of forgotten's not the word, but I had just sort of moved on from Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck decided shockingly to announce his retirement 2 years ago now. He has set out. He's still not very old, Andrew Luck. And he's been out for a little while now. And the quotes that Jim Irsay, the owner of the Indianapolis Colts, gave are really intriguing. And I'm going to read those for you in a moment here, but I want to go and look specifically at Andrew Luck's age. Right now, he's 31 years old, and he will be 32 years old on early in the season next year. He was born in 1989. So that's younger than Matthew Stafford is right now. So Matthew Stafford, older quarterback. Certainly, if you look around the league, when Drew Brees plays until he's 41 years old, Tom Brady plays right now at 43. Andrew Luck is over a decade younger than Tom Brady. So 30 years old, 31, 32 years old, whatever it is still really young, I would say, for the quarterback position based on the number of years that a lot of guys are able to play and willing to play who are pocket passers. And Irsay said, look, we think we're close to the Super Bowl, and we just need a quarterback who can come in and make a difference. And look, I mean, Cam Newton's out there, Jameis Winston. There's a lot of different moving parts at the quarterback position, but the one that would theoretically make the most sense and the Colts would have to trade for him is Matthew Stafford. But Jim Irsay, the owner of the Colts, said that the two haven't discussed a possible return. At least that's what he's saying publicly. But he'll continue to look at his fax machine in case the quarterback decided to take a page out of Michael Jordan's book by sending a message that simply said, "I'm back." And these are the quotes that I think are going to have a lot of people, not only Colts fans, but NFL fans in general, raising their eyebrows. He knows how much we'd love to have him be our quarterback. There's just no question about that, Irsay said. But at the same time, we know for it to work out, he has to be the one that says, you know what, I'm ready. I want to create a little bit of history in unprecedented aspects. Colts owner Jim Irsay also said, I don't know if we'll see that. I think he's happy. He's raising his daughter. He has a wonderful family. He's a great Colt, and he knows he could come back anytime he wants. But at the same time, we respect that he's made that decision. Now, this to me sounds like it is Jim Irsay letting Andrew Luck know, hey, we haven't forgotten about you. You're still our guy. If, and I stress if, you wanted to come back, we've got $70 million nearly in cap space. This would keep us from having to make a trade to try and bring in a new quarterback that might force us to give away assets. Phillip Rivers is retiring. Jacoby Brissett is now a free agent. If you were ever going to come back, Andrew Luck, We are waving that flag right now as the Indianapolis Colts and letting you know we would love to have you back. It seems to me that's what Jim Irsay is doing. And it seems to me, frankly, that Andrew Luck, coming off of 2 years retirement, which is how long basically Michael Jordan took off, with a brand new offensive line that has been rebuilt and was able to protect Phillip Rivers in a big way, I wonder if there are some behind-the-scenes expressions of interest that Andrew Luck might be intrigued by the idea of walking back his retirement and considering coming back to play for the Colts. It seems like this is a bit of a love letter in advance of Valentine's Day from Jim Irsay to Andrew Luck. Danny G, how would you read these quotes? Did they strike you as being interesting? And are you like me? You kind of turned the page on Andrew Luck, but if you go back and you think about it, this could make a ton of sense for the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, it really could. And even though it's a long shot, as you read those quotes,
I'm not even sure it's a long shot.
Well, I think that's why some media are going to not cover this the way we are, because it feels that way. Although the way Irsay is talking, it definitely seems like he's setting the table. He's like wanting to reel him in, like, okay, dude, your move. And the key thing is that O-line is much improved. Can you imagine watching Andrew Luck behind this O-line right now? Because obviously he was running for his life, and that was a big issue there in Indy.
They have a whole year's tape of Phillip Rivers not getting hit hardly at all because that offensive line was so protective of him, and Rivers can barely move in the pocket.
Yeah, Rivers compared to Luck.
That would have to be compelling, I would think.
Yeah. With Luck's mobility compared to Rivers and the improvements made to that O-line, man, I mean, obviously we miss watching Andrew Luck. So for us NFL fans, this would be insane and shock the world if he came back right now.
Dub, does this stand out to you as interesting as it does to me to have Jim Irsay, what appears to be, at least in some way, publicly making the case for Andrew Luck, why they'd love to have him back?
Absolutely. And we went through the list that Adam Schefter tweeted out the other day, 18 different quarterbacks. And if Andrew Luck decides to come back, you can go ahead and put his name number one on that list because he's the best quarterback out of all these guys, even Deshaun Watson, in my opinion, along with Matt Stafford and the others. So if he comes back, and like you just said, with the O-line, the running game, the defense was pretty solid this year, they would be a force next season if Andrew Luck is quarterbacking that team.
Here's the graphic that you just referenced that Adam Schefter put out. Quarterbacks whose futures are in question. Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Stafford, Dak Prescott, Sam Darnold, Carson Wentz, Jared Goff, Jimmy Garoppolo, Cam Newton, Teddy Bridgewater, Mitch Trubisky, Jameis Winston, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Alex Smith, Ben Roethlisberger. That's a lot of dudes that everybody has opinions on at the quarterback position that aren't 100% settled for the 2021 season. And the Colts are a big part of that uncertainty because they literally don't have anybody under contract in terms of a major cost. They still have Andrew Luck under contract. And in fact, I'll pull up his contract just to get a sense for what he might cost going forward. Remember, he's retired, so his contract basically, to my understanding, freezes on the spot. And given that he signed his deal a while ago, I would think that Andrew Luck's actual contract would cost peanuts compared to what a lot of guys are making, certainly of his talent level in the NFL right now, because he signed it several years ago, and everything has just been frozen into place. And I'm looking right now, he would cost, and this feels crazy, but this is what SpotTrack, the website that grabs all of the different contracts that are out there, says that he would only count in, let's see, I think his contract with dead cap, they've continued to be obligated on some of this stuff. I think he's only under contract for like $24 million. So in terms of the cost, I'd have to get somebody who's kind of a capologist on to break this down from a retirement perspective. That would be really kind of fascinating to look at. Eddie, these quotes, I mean, they don't come out of nowhere. Jim Irsay knows what he's doing. This would be a hell of a story, wouldn't it?
It would be a hell of a story. I don't know how often Jim Irsay and the word genius have been combined together. I mean, he did inherit this team from his father, and he certainly has had his issues on and off the field, so to speak. But I think it's brilliant to throw this out there, as you said, to pick up an elite quarterback without having to give up any assets. And if you're Andrew Luck, I mean, look, he's been away from the game. I haven't heard of him
talk about the game. It's not like he's been on television or even just, I haven't heard him on the radio.
Out of sight, out of mind. I mean, he's not even like going to any Stanford games that I've seen or anything like that. So it seems like he's happy away from the game. But if there was ever a scenario for him to come back, as Danny said, you've got a great offensive line. You've got a team that's a Super Bowl contender. You play for a head coach that's a former quarterback in the league that's very quarterback friendly. If there's ever a time for him to come out of retirement, this is it.
I agree. Because and he's still, like I said, he would be 31 years old at the start of the season, would be 32 on September 17th. But again, that's relatively a young quarterback in today's NFL. You could look at Andrew Luck and say, okay, he's got 5 or 6 years, high-quality years, maybe even higher quality years because he took 2 years off, and you would think he's back to being, 100% healthy or as close as anybody who played and took the hits in the NFL can be. I would think his body would feel pretty good. And we don't know how he's been spending his time, but certainly it hasn't been as if he's immersed himself in any way in the world of sports. He hasn't been talking about the NFL. I haven't heard him on the radio. I haven't even heard him doing like book clubs, with the Andrew Luck Book Club. Still a lot of love for him in Indianapolis. It's not as if the Colts have just fallen off the radar over the past 2 years, right? So I don't think there's, anger about him leaving in Indianapolis. I think most Colts fans would welcome him back with open arms. What about you, Roberto? How does this shake out for you?
Yeah, it's smart. I mean, it's obvious that Luck is probably the Colts' number one option right now with Rivers having retired. But I think it's wishful thinking because, like Frank said last hour, if he had that passion like Brady does to compete at that age that Brady does, I don't think he would have retired. I don't think he would have retired in the first place.
Right, but pretend that we were doing radio back when Michael Jordan retired. Could it be, I'm just tossing this out there, that Andrew Luck was so driven competitively that he was so frustrated over his inability to stay healthy that his passion for the game burned so brightly that it burned itself out? There are things, there are people out there listening to us right now who know what I'm talking about. There are times where you may love something so much, but also recognize that that passion that burns brightly for you becomes so overwhelming that you have to step away from it. And if we had been taught, there's no doubt out there for anybody listening to us that Michael Jordan is one of the most competitive athletes of his generation or any generation. Yet he was willing to walk away from basketball because maybe that's really a big part of The Last Dance, the documentary that we talked about back in May, right? Maybe it was his father's murder. Maybe it was all of the attention that he felt on him. He just needed a respite, a moment to go grab a breath of normalcy. Although, obviously, he goes and plays baseball and it turns into its own circus. But maybe Andrew Luck is in a better, healthier place in terms of his passion for football. Maybe he has refilled all of his desire. And he can look at the Colts and say, hey, we're a legit Super Bowl team right now. That's what they fill. All they have to do is add a quarterback. And I'm the best quarterback out there. I know this system. I know a lot of these guys in the locker room. If he's ever going to come back, now's the time.